This is a video that's very specific to cold climate gardeners, but more specifically urban cold climate gardeners. The reason for that is because when you have a greenhouse in an urban space in a cold climate, the management style is totally different. So today's video, I'm going to go over all the ins and outs of a greenhouse in a cold climate in an urban setting. We're going to go over heating, plant placement, use, all that fun stuff. Okay, so let's get into what I do believe are some limitations of having a greenhouse in an environment that is cold and urban, and that is not having actual beds. Now, this could come because there's not enough space. This could come because there's not enough sunlight, you name it. But ultimately speaking, I use my greenhouse specifically for my nursery pots or my seedlings when I go to bump them up outdoors. I don't start seedlings in here because the humidity tends to be too high and or they kind of get shadowed out by those larger nursery pot plants. So I actually still keep my seedling indoors, but once they get bumped up, they do get placed in here. So when it comes to nursery pots and placement on the racks, there are some tips and tricks that you need to follow. Number one is that if you're in an urban environment, your lighting may not be ideal. Me personally, I don't have a ton of sun in this backyard, and you combine that with the fact that I don't have a lot of places to put a greenhouse that looks normal, because a greenhouse in the middle of the backyard is a little odd. I'm odd, but I'm not that weird. So with that being said, I have it kind of in a space that isn't ideal when it comes to lighting. So what you want to do is plan the positioning of your plants. Now, it seems like it's a handicap in a way, but it really isn't, because truth be told, not all plants need a ton of light, and not all plants like being in greenhouses because it can get hot in this sucker. So what I do is I will put things like radicchio, broccolis, cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, cabbages, coleus, anything that's shade tolerant and or does enjoy cooler climates. I will put those on the bottom racking, and I'll put them more specifically bottom racking where I tend to have the most shade. Now, with that being said, it's too much shade. So I do have to put some grow lights at the bottom of my stands. I do have some longer 4 foot in length LED lights. I have 2 of them. You could use like the Sansi pot lights as well. Anything like that will work. You don't have to do the whole greenhouse in them, but you do need to do your shaded lower levels if that is something that you are experiencing. Now, as you get up, because there is lackluster lighting just because of positioning, again, urban environment, lots of trees, lots of buildings, lots of fences, I do actually put lighting up inside of the greenhouse. Now, I don't put it specifically on the racks. What I will do is I will put them up here, and then they just kind of sit in the center, and that tends to be enough because you have the light coming from the outside penetrating the sides. You have a little bit of light coming from kind of angled downwards this way. So that top light just helps keep things less leggy and not stretching in or outwards towards the outside of the greenhouse, but rather staying straight because it's able, that door's gonna smack you guys. It lets things grow straight because you do have that really intense lighting in the middle. I use, for example, there's like this Mars Hydro. It's really not fancy. It's just like an LED light. So I do have like things like this, mostly these guys. You can get cheaper ones if you wanted to. It just is all up to you and how much money you want to spend and exactly how much shade you have. But you'll know relatively quickly if you need to take action on this, because plants tend to respond very quickly via phototropism and bending very specific directions. Okay, so next up, let's talk about humidity, because these greenhouses can get red humid, and that goes for nearly any greenhouse. So there isn't a lot of equipment you could use. By all means, you could technically use a dehumidifier if we're talking larger scale greenhouse where it makes sense, but I personally don't put that much effort into it. What I will do is I will open the door, even if it's only like 15 degrees Celsius. If I just have my cooler climate crops in here, like my cabbage, onions, broccoli, Brussels sprout, which is actually what I'm going to move in here probably very soon, that situation, I don't I will open the door at like +5 because it's good for the plants. It actually kind of helps a little bit with the hardening off process as well. But regardless, this door gets opened up during the day, pretty much at any temperature, because it allows for airflow in. Obviously the door is like swinging in the wind right now, smacking you around. So hopefully you're into that, because yeah, editing this is going to be very fun. Then I also have like a trap door here that I will open that allows for some humidity to leave, but also those really high heats, which we'll talk about here in a second. Now, the other method you could use is a fan. If you are experiencing really high humidity, I'm not talking a fan that is causing mechanical manipulation of the plant, which in turn results in a plant that is stronger or more resilient to wind, both stem, leaf, stomata wise. What I am talking about actually is a fan that goes in the door or in this trap door and actually blows the air outwards. Now this can help with heating, but it can also help with some of that humidity problem as well. Okay, so let's talk heating, because I feel like that's what every cold climate gardener is wondering about. So essentially during the day, like I said, the temperatures are probably going to be okay. You have kind of like this enclosed space, so we have less advective cooling. And then obviously you have this clear plastic, which if you guys watch my video on how to thaw out soil quick and get into the garden faster, you know that clear is probably the best at heating. So a little bit of a heat factory so long as there's solarization. Now, if there's no solarization on your side and it's nighttime out, you do need to put a heater in. So here's the thing. I use a combination of a water bin as kind of like a sink that's not that fail-safe by any stretch of the imagination. I do find it keeps the temp up like 1 to 2 degrees in really extreme circumstances. When I remove it, it tends to get a little bit cooler in here, but regardless, it is one method you can use. I also have this on cement. So cement, brick, asphalt, rock, anything like that is going to act like a heat source over soil or grass or wood chips, anything of that nature. And so because of that, it also can help. So the key is when it comes to heating is we don't want these really wild fluctuations. If you've watched my videos on tomatoes and actually temperature differentials, so the difference between the temp at night and the temp during the day, you already kind of know that there is some benefit to movement in that temperature between 5 and 10 degrees, because it can help with a thicker stem, just a better plant, all that sort of stuff. If you watch that video, if you haven't, it's this video right here. And essentially, that's good. We can go between that 5 to 10 degrees. We don't want to go more than that, because that is going to cause a lot of shock and a lot of confusion for your plants. So to limit that, we have kind of those heat sinks to allow, you know, an even distribution of that temperature. Now, the other heat sink is actually just the plants themselves. You've got pots that are moist and full of soil. And again, if you watched my video on temperature and soil temps and warming things up, you know that there's a high specific heat capacity when it comes to organic soils, aka soilless mediums, potting soil. So because of that higher heat capacity, it takes longer for it to cool down, and that can work in your favor. So if you are running a skeleton crew of plants in here, you're going to find it much more difficult to keep that 5 to 10 degree ratio, and you're also going to find it really difficult to actually keep it warm at night. So you want to pack this thing full with plants as soon as possible. I mean, I'm encouraging you to spend money. Husbands and wives can thank me later. But if you don't have all these plants, the other thing you can do is actually put the bales of soil that you intend to use later on inside of here. Now, I would pour it out into a Rubbermaid, maybe consider putting a little bit more moisture in it. All these things can help, again, just increasing the temperature or making it so it's a little bit more stable, if you will. Nighttime is when the equipment comes into play. You need to get a heater. I very rarely see a situation where a heater is not needed. The only exception to this rule would be if you only have cooler climate crops in a greenhouse. But if you've got tomatoes, peppers, cannabis, anything like that, loofahs, you know, different types of squash, anything of that nature, you really need a heater to get really good results and get hardier plants. So the heater that I used is the heater that I've used for years. I've just kept on repurchasing the same heater over and over again. It has a wide range of temperatures, and it actually has 2 different ranges in volt or wattages, which can change the intensity of the heat, save you a little bit of power, is my understanding. I don't know much about electrical. I know there's lots of Geek Crew people out there that are electricians, so comment down below the technicalities there. But regardless, this heater works wonderfully for me. It also has a fan on it, so it helps with the distribution of that heat, which is always nice. Now, I have that heater on the ground, and I have it on the ground because heat rises. And then I also have a fan, and this fan is not just for the mechanical manipulation of the plants, it's also for the dispersal of the heat. So we don't want these really hot pockets in the greenhouse. We want it kind of evenly spread and moving throughout the greenhouse. Okay, so this is where it's very specific to just cold climate gardeners in general. There is a possibility that it is going to get so cold, even if your last frost date has passed, that the heater is not going to be able to keep up. So what you may need to do is come into the greenhouse, put frost cloth over top of those nursery pots, and or actually water everything before you go to bed and then put those frost cloths on. That little bit does take off the edge, and the way that you can know if your heater's keeping up is with a min-max thermometer. So this min-max I've had for years now, so it's looking a little haggard, but it still serves its purpose. But essentially it has 2 dead needles, so it benefits you in knowing if you really should be opening your daytime vents indoors, because it'll actually tell you how hot it's getting. And if it's getting over 25 degrees Celsius, that's too warm. What is that in Fahrenheit? It looks like 78 degrees Fahrenheit. If it gets that hot, you need to open the doors. That's way too, it seems like a good thing, but it's really not. Around 25 is the sweet spot for pretty much all plants. And then it also will tell you if your nighttime temps are getting super cold by bumping this dead blue needle backwards. And again, we want it to be within 5 to 10 degrees Celsius of your highest daytime temp. Now, the other thing you could use, and I don't think I have it in here right now, but that is a sensor. So I have the Earth One sensor, which is the sensor that I helped to design. And essentially I will put it in my greenhouse. My greenhouse is right up against the house, so it does get Wi-Fi. And that will alert me if the temperatures dip too far and I need to take action. It alerted me last year when my heater wasn't plugged in. It got unplugged on the side of the house and it wasn't turned on, and it buzzed my phone at like midnight, and I was like, what the heck is that? And it was freezing in here, so it woke me up and saved me a shitload of money. So that's also an option if you have a little bit of wiggle room in the budget. So in summary, the keys are try to capture as much light as possible. If you can't capture the light that you need, or you're noticing phototropism working against you, you may need to put some lights in place, whether that's in the actual shelving itself, or if it's up above in the form of a grow light that just lights the whole space. The other thing to consider is trying to pack this as full as possible as soon as possible. So seedlings, I do leave inside because they are babies and they need very steady temperatures, very steady levels of humidity. I need to be able to watch them more. I need more reminders about them. So seedlings stay inside, but as I begin to pot things up, they do come outdoors, but I wait until I have a few trays to be able to put them in, because we want a higher specific heat capacity. Next tip is opening this door during the day, because opening the door during the day, and if it's over 15 degrees Celsius, opening this vent. We don't want this to get higher than 25 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, because it works against us. It doesn't work for us. And this again will also help with managing some of that humidity, which is just going to happen in a greenhouse. If you want to learn more about seeds you should be starting here in April, whether it's outdoors or inside, then you're going to want to check out this video right here. And that video is what Google says you should watch. Thanks for watching. Bye.